Hello and welcome to episode 10 of JLXP. Week 3 has just concluded for LCS, also for LEC, also for LCK. Really, week 3 of 2 of them. It's week 1 of LCK because they started late. It is about 5 p.m. on Sunday night, and instead of doing a completely solo podcast like I did last week, Prawley is just Iron Manning through his analyst desk week to give more quick analysis. Before we get into things, I'll give just a quick rundown of what we are going to talk about. Right at the top, we're going to talk about the dark arts of NARAM.
My favorite.
And I promised this last week that I was going to have you on to talk about this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you listen to all my podcasts, so that's not a surprise to you.
I missed that one.
Yeah. And talk about some of the pros and cons of why it happens, why sometimes it can be good, why sometimes it can be bad. Then we're talking about TSM, C9, DIG, just NA, LCS, and LCS Thoughts. LEC, the G2 Fnatic game that happened, a little bit about their kind of second tier of teams, and then a little bit about LCK, because I have some weird theories of how they're playing the game, and I want to get your thoughts on how they'll continue. So that's going to be the overall episode. Up first, though, we're talking about NARAM.
Say it again.
It's close to your heart.
I love it.
Personally, I think this gets vastly overused, and more often than not in an incredibly negative context where occasionally grouping is the right thing to do. Now, the response to the group and what happens around that is up for debate. I think a lot of top teams do this across the world. But just what are your thoughts on the NARAM meme or ecosystem, or where do you want to start?
I mean, where are we on expletive deletives?
I mean,
low amount?
Sure, just a few. Yeah.
Okay. I think the NARAM meme is big bullshit.
Okay.
For real.
There we go.
I've heard it for way too many years.
Okay.
And I think every time I've heard it, it's never been from an analytical point of view. It's almost always I'm going to trash on something. Yeah. It's always like, this game looks slow, or it's always just a negative take on what's happening in the game and not really understanding of what it is. But later, it's being passed off as analysis. This game was so poor because of this NARAM. But there's no explanation of like, what is this? Like, what are you seeing? Why is it happening? And, maybe for a second, like, is this correct or not?
Okay.
I think normally when you hear it, it's immediately an incorrect play. No one's like, NARAM, good choice. It's always, what are you doing there?
That's the context, yeah.
That's the context.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into an example of why you should actually group mid as 5 people, because there are a large number of reasons that you want to do that to get control.
I mean, I'll say, let's see. I'll say 2018 was the first time I noticed it becoming a lot more prevalent.
By the way, I kind of like how quick that got you heated. This is good. Yeah.
Well, I'm very passionate about this because sometimes it's been my teams, right? Yeah. And I mean, I'm a coach, and I know people are like, don't listen to other people. But honestly, like, sometimes the dummy solves a problem for you. I'll be honest. Sometimes I hear something really dumb, and I'm like, oh, wait, why didn't I think of that? Because it's like super, like just off tempo or just not like me. Yeah. So it's a just different point of view. I like them a lot. I'll say 90% of them are trash. But the 10%.
Okay. So I'll get back to the thing you were just talking about before I cut you off. The reason you would push mid is 5. Yeah.
So this probably started being a lot bigger of a play in 2018. When I noticed like Cho'Gath becoming meta. I think this was in spring. And the issue was, if you were able to get mid control, and for the viewers that don't know, and actually a lot of pro players don't know, if you have mid control, it means you are killing the mid minions before the enemy team does. And you're able to either escort the minions into the enemy tower, or you're just basically able to push first and then move into the river. So you have a much wider range of movement. You're not going through a choke point. You're literally going through the river sides of mid, through the bushes. So this is a big advantage point if you're able to control mid like this. So the thing is, back then, if you had Cho'Gath, and usually people would counterpick it with a split pusher, or those counterpick with a gangplank. Yep. Something that wants to go in side lane. Yep. And so what we did is, we're Cho'Gath, we have mid control. We see that gangplank side lane, or any counterpick to Cho'Gath, and we would just go run and start Baron. Yeah. And we have control. We have mid control, so we have Baron control naturally, because especially if you show someone on side lane, we have 5 mid, you have 4. Yeah. So I'm going to clear out the vision. So all your pinks are dead. All your greens are dead. And this is also point in the meta where you ran 3 sweepers. So it was
Yeah.
no way you could fail a
You
ward.
totally starve out the vision when you move in as 5. But the other team does create wave pressure in the side lane
Over
while
time.
you're clearing. Yeah.
But remember, we're talking 20 minutes, 25 minutes,
Yeah.
maybe 30 minutes plus in the game. So tier 1s are down.
Yeah.
So for a minion wave from tier 2 bot lane to get to the opposite side is going to be at about a minute and a half.
Yeah.
So for a minute and a half, you're not going to see me. I'm going to have 5 people in fog. Like, how uncomfortable are you? And
with Cho'Gath, and when Mountain Drakes can take Baron.
And this was also Mountain Drake meta too. So the Cho'Gath obviously made the Baron start easy because we know you have to TP in with a non-team fight champion. So team fights are already fine because we're 4 seconds ahead of you, 4.5 at the time. And once we started it, if it got low enough, because you can't instantly follow us, right? If we go into fog, you have to hesitate before you follow us. So we're always the Baron faster than you. If we start Nasher and get it to a certain threshold, we're going to smite and then feast. So unless you have Gragas to CC the Cho'Gath or something crazy, it's almost, you're not going to get it.
Yeah.
So if we can actually get our bodies there, Cho'Gath will take it forever and we can just eat it and the game is just over right there.
Yeah. So what happens then is instead of starting the split push, the other team just matches as 5.
Yes. And this is as the losing team going to split push. Now, if I'm the Cho'Gath team, I'm Mr. Cho'Gath team, and I want to create some side lane pressure by putting my Cho top or bot, that is a play I can do because I'm winning.
Yeah.
So I have the option. I have mid push first, so I already have the vision on Nash. So if I leave and someone goes to side lane, maybe the other team 5-mans it and clears my vision, but they can't instantly start Nash. They have to clear my vision first, and during their vision clear, I'm getting pressure. But if you are losing and you go to side lane, you will instantly lose your game. So the NARAM, I think, is applicable only to the winning team, ever. If you look at the losing team and go like, what is this guy doing? Then I think you don't understand the game at all.
Because the losing team actually doesn't have the ability to split.
Yeah.
Because the other team will just force on them so quickly. In a lot of scenarios. Like there's obviously exceptions if the team's Baron is incredibly slow, like maybe with Senna or something. Like there's links there. And I completely agree with you. I actually remember casting a lot of the games during 100 Thieves run in 2018 spring. I mean, they weren't pretty games.
No, absolutely
You had
not.
like a 70-minute game 5 against Clutch. But like,
That was ugly.
it's because every time the game became about mid priority back then, 100 Thieves won.
Yeah.
Like, because you practice that over and over, and that pulled a lot of teams in. And yes, as you say, when you're ahead, there's better split push strategies. But I liked your explanation there of the team that winning, if they're forcing as 5, a lot of times the losing team has to match as 5.
Yeah.
That's just how it works. And if your composition isn't built around split push pressure, it's the right play to have a 5v5 in the mid lane. And that, to me, happens in LEC. It happens in LCK.
Oh yeah, it happens
in
everywhere.
LPL. It happens everywhere. It probably happens, to be completely honest, it happens a little bit more in LCS. But a lot of that is just because people want to meme on it.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's a little confirmation bias, right?
Yeah.
You know it's coming. It's called NARM. So you'll see it a lot more. When I see it in LEC, I never see Twitch spam or anything. Everyone just ignores it. I'm like, well, they're literally just chilling mid. And usually this is, the winning team making a mistake or a winning team not taking a big enough advantage. But I do want to go back to one point because I said Cho'Gath as I'm going to take Baron. So I want to make sure this is not an extreme case.
Okay.
So give me like any top laner. Like every other top laner is going to be Aatrox, Ornn. This is during Ornn meta as well.
Right.
And then this is also not including like engaged support metas. Like now we have like Leona and stuff coming in. So during these metas where big teamfight engage comes in, even if I can't finish Nash quickly, like with Cho'Gath and secure it, if I just start it, you have to 4-man face check me. So if I catch you, you die. If you TP insta, I can just leave the Baron now because now I have TP advantage. And now I can go rinse and repeat that map and you have a 6-minute cooldown.
Yeah.
So it's really not Cho'Gath dependent. It's not super tank dependent. It's winning dependent.
Yeah. The good news is literally everyone watches this show. Like everyone in
everyone in the
lolesports.
world.
So so basically now the meme is just dead. You don't have to worry about it.
No, I mean, I hope someone figures this out and they start, like, if you flame the team that's winning, I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah.
If there's a winning team and they're chilling mid doing nothing, flame them because they don't know how to play the map. But if you look at both teams and go like, these guys don't know what they're doing, it's like, no. This winning team doesn't know what they're doing. Because I noticed it a lot, like, especially at 100 Thieves games, right?
Yeah.
We were always behind going into mid game. So when we got to these spots, like, we didn't have the choice to go to side lane. If I sent someday bot or Cody top, we just lose the game.
Yeah.
But these guys, just didn't know how to play the map well enough. So this is why we just stalemated mid until we got enough strength to actually fight back. So I think NARM exists to an extent, but it's not being applied properly. It's being applied to both teams and far too often. And it's like, It's very confusing because if you're in one of those pro games and you're like, you just get to talk to the players and you have like God vision, right? You can see the whole map. Hey, go bot real quick, see what happens. I guarantee you that team is going to lose the map instantly.
Yeah. I think it's also just part of what has been the culture for maybe the past year and a half, specifically, where like anytime you're talking about League, you have to make sure to degrade NA in some way. Like, oh yeah, just remember the time that they got swept by Fnatic in Worlds, and then remember the time where they made MSI Finals, but it's still a joke.
Yeah,
it's still a joke because, you know, they lost in MSI Finals.
See, I like that.
Yeah.
But it's also, being from NA, it's like, this is my toilet. Like, I get the crap in it. You don't. So when other people do it, I get defensive. It doesn't make sense. I get defensive when other people talk about it, but me on the other hand, I'm like, nah, dude, we suck. We gotta get better. So
yeah,
I do think it's, I don't know, we're punching bag until we gotta show up before we stop being punching bag. So
I agree.
think onus is still on North America to kind of get themselves out of it.
Yeah, like that's the thing why I have such a difficulty ever trying to talk about it aggressive, because if you tell people not to make fun of NA, you end up coming across extremely defensive, and the response is like, why don't you win? Right? It's like, well, good point.
Yeah.
Right? I got nothing left. Like, there's no ammo. There's literally no ammo to fight back for the past year and a half. But I don't know. I just hope it happens less. Yeah. Because the joke's old to me at this point.
Yeah. I mean, that's oldie but a goodie.
Maybe Cloud9 can make some noise. That's going to be our new champion.
Hopefully it's Cloud9, not Cloud9. You know, from last world. I mean,
is it like, why is it that every single NA team or player is so easily like turned into a negative meme? Is it because we're really clever, or we're just bad at picking names?
I think it's North America's fault because we're not aggressive enough against EU. Because I think EU has a lot of really things that we can make fun of, but we just don't. And then EU, on the other hand, like EU flames themselves. They flame everyone. Like, I mean, everyone's on fire from EU's perspective. So I think they're just really quick at it. So they like kill us quickly.
And, you know, the results of winning.
And then, the winning makes it even better.
Yeah.
But even if the roles are swapped, right? Culture swapped, but teams stayed the same, I think it would still be them trashing on everyone.
Oh, that's interesting. Huh. Yeah, I mean, it is a more talkative region in that sense, like just looking at the solo queue.
It's not like logically built up. Like, oh, Europe's good, so now I'm going to talk trash. It's like, I'm going to talk trash all the time.
Right. And the fact that they're good just makes it easier.
Now it's just easier. Yeah. Like, you can't win now.
Okay. That's
so
a
it's
good
like,
point.
you're on a pedestal now because you're winning.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about LEC afterwards. With that transition, we're going to move to LCS this weekend. We are doing this. I had the fraction last week, 4/5 of the way through the week. It is, for the people that are listening to this Monday morning.
Kind of hard to hit.
4/5? 80%?
Out of a 7-day week?
Yeah, maybe I should just say 80% done.
Yeah.
8 out of 10 games. Like, it is a very easy fraction.
Yeah.
It's before Monday Night League. This is for people that have watched the weekend and want something to do Monday morning. Welcome. TSM is now at 4-2. The best team in the league is C9. Dig has lost 3 in a row. And Immortals and 100 Thieves battled, and Immortals has a chance to go to 4 wins. But the biggest thing, we'll start positive, is C9 now being 6-0. They've beaten FlyQuest and Dignitas this week. They have what has turned into now a really hype matchup against TSM next week. I mean, they haven't been behind in a single game. Sven did die today for the first time ever. Yeah, yay! We can stop talking about Deathless.
No, he needs one more death.
Because then he can't get 100 KDA.
And then he can't get 100 KDA.
Yeah, the 100 KDA. And they've gotten, in 6 games, they've gotten 10 Rift Heralds, which is nuts.
Pretty good.
But they look just so good and coordinated.
Yeah.
It's always kind of difficult to use the eye test this early in the season. And where do you feel like they're at? To me, they're a lot better than I expected them to be. Like, even comparing them to 2019 TL, they're looking better. To you, is that because the competition's messing up, or is it because they're just that clean?
I would credit more to C9 than anything. I think they're stronger than TL was last year. I think TL maybe has ever been, I would say. Maybe it's a little premature, but the way that they're playing looks much more high level. I think when TL would play, they would smash almost through just brute force, like, we're going to go 3v3 bot, and then you can't outplay them 3v3. Or they like take a whole bunch of dragons, and then you're just like numerically down in gold, and you can't compete. So it's not like a skill check or anything.
Yeah, they just played through double if skill.
Yeah. I think C9 has a bit more flexible. It reminds me a bit more of like an LEC team where it's like kind of an aggressive group and fight. Like we can take every fight because we know the outcome before you do. And one thing I wish Analyst Desk was like 10 hours longer.
Well, that's what this podcast is for.
But all right, so I know whoever's watching probably not at home. Maybe they are. But yeah, I don't know. If they're in the car, sorry. But anyways, at one point in your day, if you have time, go to the C9 dig game that happened on Sunday. Yeah. And I think it was around 6:30, 6 minutes, 30 seconds. Yeah. Watch mid lane. So if you have Pro, you can watch Niski's point of view. Yeah. And he just leaves the mid lane. Yeah. And this is like, I don't know. I feel like I didn't get my point across well enough on the Analyst Test. Okay. But this is the play that I see a lot happen in Europe, and in China actually. Not right now, but usually where the lane is like, I can lose some CS, but it enables my team to play so aggressive. And you notice the second that Niski leaves lane, they're basically at a 3v3 at Dragon, bot lane and jungle, first bot lane and jungle. And right when he leaves lane, they're doing Dragon and they're beginning to get to engage range of Dig's bot lane. And this is only possible because Niski left. And it's weird because you don't see a lot of NA mids do this because, in an ideal world, Froggen says missing, and then Dig's bot lane backs off. However, this is like how many levels of communication have to be successful for this play to work, right? Froggen has to see it, has to call it, has to be fast enough. Dig bot lane and jungle have to understand it and back off quickly, and they have to know the engage range. So the 3v3 turns into a 4v3, but it's like a phantom 4v3 because they don't see the fourth player. So the chances of something going wrong are really high. So obviously the counterplay is, you call out Niski's roaming. Sure. But the way they do it is so in sync that the second Niski leaves, they get a hook, and then they go in bot. And this is a gigantic snowball effect and why I really like C9. So number one, the aggression I really like. Niski's just leaving lane. I think that's impossible to teach a player. I think a player has to learn it themselves. They have to watch someone do it and say, I want to play this way.
This is a good time to leave.
Yeah. Because telling someone, hey, you're going to lose 5 CS right now. Enjoy. Yeah. Maybe
Niski
you get
did that, 10 times this game. He was down 50 CS.
Oh, that was his team ninja'd his gold. Yeah. But anyways, so off of this play, I'm not overselling Niski's roam here. Yeah. This gets a kill on Aframu, on dig support. This causes C9's bot lane to get a push bot. They get prio. So they crash 2 waves in. During this time, they reset and go top. Dig, on the other hand, Johnson has to sit and farm all the CS under turret. So he's maybe 20 seconds behind C9's bot lane. And what happens is C9 goes straight top, Aatrox goes straight bot, and the map looks like 5 Dig top and 4 C9 top. What this does is Dig has to take a risk here. And they start Herald. If Huni reset and went bot to match Aatrox would just have a window and come up top and then hit 5v4 Herald. So it literally put Dig in a spot where it's like, we're going to lose Herald for free, or we're going to take it right now. Yeah. And that was what C9 was able to do with just one slight movement out of mid. Yeah, and it just snowballs. I noticed the same thing in their game against FlyQuest, which everyone in the post-game thread was just like, damn, what a stomp. It was like, well, actually, it was the aggressive quality bot laning led to them being able to roam up to Rift Herald first. And then because they were so far ahead of FlyQuest, Viper didn't have time to push out top wave, got killed by the Gragas, and first turret was down. Yeah. And then from there, it was actually just a chain of events that never let FlyQuest recover, you know what I mean? And those chains of events don't happen if C9 isn't also willing to take risks. You can't make this happen with nothing but with just strategy. It's not, we make one risk and then the rest of the game was procedural. They do this, but then they're also really, really good in skirmishes. Well, they have to know what they are seeing as a mistake. Because this is I think everyone that watches League, even me, when I watch it, sometimes I get trapped in this kind of thought bubble where as soon as I see something, I know it's a mistake because I'm super disconnected, right? I can see everything. Yeah. It's so easy to see mistakes. When you're in game and you're that player, it's so hard to know you're making a mistake. And it's also so hard to know that they're making one that you can punish. So one thing that's making C9 so dominant is they'll see all these little mistakes and actually just go kill that person. And you'll watch some of these other teams and you're like, why are they so slow? Or why aren't other teams better? It's like other teams are making similar mistakes, but the winning team doesn't know it's a mistake yet. I have a something that'll probably span throughout the rest of the episode, but based on this conversation, it's good to bring up now. I have a macro theory on how NA, LEC, and LCK are approaching the game. Okay.
Do you want to hear it?
Yeah, let's hear it.
So, NA is relatively heavy on the setup. Right now, I feel like they're focusing a lot on like procedurally, what should we be doing? We should recall here. We should approach to Rift Herald through this passageway, right? We should make sure we have tempo and TP and do this thing. Except when it comes down to actually pulling the trigger on a fight, aside from C9, teams are very hesitant. They're slow in the process. They're not willing. They're very willing to back off. They're very willing to just like, let's keep the macro play. LCK is like the mega extreme example of this. There is, they call it the lull state when LS and Atlas are casting, but like it's real. When I watch, so what I've been doing lately is I haven't been watching the highlights. I've just been watching the game VODs, but I will just to watch the macro, I'll press the right arrow key because that's a 5-second skip ahead. And I'll just like press. So it's like 5 or 10x speed. But what'll happen in these games is the kills will be like 2-8 and a team will have a 2,000 gold lead and 2 Drakes. And then I actually fast forward for 5 minutes and then they fight a Drake. And then one team gets the Drake.
Yeah.
The kills lock again. And I fast forward for another 5 minutes and they fight a Drake again. It's like the LCK, in a lot of cases, this is obviously a generalization.
Yeah.
But it's like they are playing flowchart League of Legends. Like you play for the first 15 minutes, you play a normal game of League of Legends for the first 15 minutes, then you say, okay, who's winning? And they're like, well, okay, the winning team is going to push waves into the enemy team turrets, and we will meet at Dragon when it spawns. And the losing team says, I'm not going to do anything because the waves will come to my turret, and I can achieve gold. And then once a team gets Dragon Soul, then they will try Baron. And depending on what happens there, they will get Elder and Baron again. And then they'll push. Like it is so procedural in that sense. And then the LEC is like when I say NA sets up a lot of plays and then backs off, LEC is not even setting up the plays. Like they're just ping-ponging waves. LCS sets up the plays. LEC just goes even if the setup's wrong. They are so willing to just try and outplay the opponent. Like if you're really trying to play slow, but like oftentimes regions end up mimicking their top teams because that's who they lose to. Yeah. So if everyone loses to G2, who constantly plays through pressure and constantly outplays you, everyone's playing that style. Yep. Whereas we're coming from NA, where Liquid has been the dominant team for 2 years, and they're the setup team that'll slowly brute force you. So maybe it'll change with C9, but that's like my macro view on how the regions are playing. What do you think?
I think it's pretty fair. I don't think it's very extreme or anything like that. Like I was ready for something crazy. But I was like, no, I think that's really fair. And I think if you watch all the regions, I think you would come to a pretty similar conclusion. I mean, yeah, I think NA's setup, I think you're absolutely right, is TL's fault. Especially last 2 years when it was very Dragon focused. They were so good at setting up Dragon, and when you scrim them or played up on stage, you lose every single Dragon, and then you go back and review and go, we need to fix it up. We need to learn how to play around Dragons, because if we don't, we're just going to lose the TL all the time. Because, like, I mean,
that's what they do.
Yeah, no one,
unstoppable.
No one has solid proof that another playstyle can beat TL, right? Back then, at least, 2018, 2019. No one was like, oh man, like C9 played more hectic, right?
Yeah,
that didn't work very well against TL.
Yeah,
so it's like, all right, well, we have one team who's playing a little bit more hectic. Like, I mean, we didn't have many like wildcard teams in NA that were just like completely off the wall, but it's kind of like, yeah, unless you want to just Hail Mary against TL and go like full. You can't even go topside because Impact is so good at absorbing pressure. So it's like, yeah, your strategy to beat TL was like meet them at a similar game and you need to outplay them in a fight. And that was kind of the win condition against TL.
Yeah.
But to do that, you first initially had to learn how the hell do they get every single Drake. And usually that led to they would get bot river control, which includes like, the bot pink river in the bush and then the river, the pixel bush next to mid lane, those two pinks. And that usually like leads into deeper vision and then they pick it up. So NA having that setup, I think, is pretty accurate, mostly because of TL. And if you can't beat the people like directly in front of you, like, how can you
justify that we need to play this other way?
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine convincing my players like, all right, TL plays this way, let's go play this other crazy way that I've watched somewhere else. Like,
let's make sure we send 4 people bot at 5 minutes to dive them.
Yeah.
And if you lose 3 people, don't worry about it. It was the right play.
Yeah, like if we let's be like LPL, right? Like we're gonna play like, all this like crazy shit everywhere and fight all the time. Like, how could we practice that? Like everyone in NA is like hugging turrets and setting up vision. So how are we gonna get these LPL fights? Like, we don't even know how their thought process is. We'd be like copying them. So it was very hard to defeat them. And LCK, them being over-procedured makes sense because I can't tell you how many bot lanes I've watched where they just handshake. Yeah. They go, you have a winning bot lane, so you're going to push me.
Dude, they love handshakes.
It's super... I understand it, but it's super weird to talk to a Korean player about those handshakes because they feel... it's almost like they feel defeated immediately.
Before the matchup happens.
Yeah, the champion happens, right?
Yeah.
I have Ashe, you have Varus. Ashe beats Varus early. You sit at your turret now because you're Varus, and I'm going to push for free. You don't try to outplay me. You don't try to, like, outspace me. You don't try to get, like, little things. Like, you don't try to get to lane before me. Even when...
it's like a level of respect for the other player.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, if you played absolutely perfect, how would this lane play out? And that's how they play. And the big issue is, as soon as a mistake happens, right? Say that Ashe comes to lane 1 second late, right? She did one extra auto attack on red buff to pull for the jungler. Something, like, nonsensical like that.
Yeah.
The Varus would not punish that by pushing now, because now the Varus has advantage. But because it's Ashe versus Varus, he will still sit in the back. So Ashe will make a mistake, like over leash or come to lane late, and then she'll come into lane and then still have that like faux advantage just based on champions. And so explaining that to a player was like crazy because the like counterattack is always like, well, what if she doesn't do this? I have to play the lane differently now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to adjust your playstyle every single game. Because I mean, if you could just win off a draft, like why do players exist? Like, I'll just have, that would be the most fun ever. I would just draft the best comp all the time.
Yeah. You
don't have to play the champion right. I just pick the comp and then it's like an auto battler. It's literally like TFT.
Turns out there's multiple different ways you can play League of Legends. And the thing is, I can't say definitively which style is correct, right? And that's why it's another reason the layers of these international events get so interesting because like I can make the argument that, hey, the LCK handshaking, like the reason they handshake is because they're actually so good at punishing. So if the other team step out of line, they just lose faster. And that's actually what I thought happened in the 100 Thieves Immortals game today, where I actually wanted to see 100 Thieves handshake and only fight at Drake's.
Yeah.
But they kept walking into Immortals.
Wait, that's a different line of thought, though.
We're going to talk... Okay.
When you play against a weaker team or an unproven team like Immortals, you always handshake because they will lose the game for themselves.
You would think, but that's not what 100 Thieves was doing.
Yeah, no, I know they didn't do it. I'm not their coach.
Okay.
Well, I'm just telling you. Yeah. If you're playing against a really good team and you handshake stuff, they're gonna just not make mistakes. They're under no pressure.
They're gonna win.
So LEC, they don't have setups because I think they have a lot more ego. I think ego plays a bigger role in League of Legends than ever. I think you need a lot more ego in this game than you used to. And I think what LEC is closer to accurate. I think there's still a bit of like tuning that they need. But I would say ideally I think a mixture between like 70 LEC, 30 NA would be the correct way to play currently. And I think the big thing is just the way that LEC is playing so quickly and like aggressively is, again, just like TL for NA, it's only because of G2.
It's contagious.
Yes. Well, I mean, do you want to set up a little dragon while I go like dive your top and mid without any vision?
No.
Like you're going to watch that game and be like, how are they allowed to do this? My coach says I have to ward. Their coach picks them whatever the hell they want and they just dive me. It's like the skill gap between them and the other players individually are so high that they get to kind of play this like really scrappy way. And why I think the LEC style is so important is because if you're behind and you play LCK style, you will lose. Unless the LCK team beats themselves. So the onus is no longer on you to win the game. If you're in a losing situation and you play the NA or the LCK style, you're hoping they throw.
Yeah.
If you play the LEC style and you're losing, you still have a chance.
You still have a chance.
That's why I think it's
if you have full respect for the other opponent to execute.
And then the bad side of it is like, when LEC is ahead, they keep playing that way.
Yeah.
And they could, if they had like the, I guess, duality almost to like tune themselves a bit, like we got a 5K gold lead. This is impossible to lose if we play it this way. Instead of like, okay, we got a 5K gold lead by recklessly charging at them. Let's keep doing it. If they could make that switch once they had enough gold lead, then I think that would be the ideal way to play.
Huh. I really like this conversation. It's not what I expected from quick thoughts of week 3 in the LCS.
Oh, this
but we just went deep into like macro game theory in week 3 of the spring split. We'll get to see how that resolves at this year's World Championship.
Oh yeah. Well, that's unfair because it's going to be meta changes and stuff. But I still think the idea of gameplay that LEC and LPL are playing
No, I love
is
it.
mostly correct.
I love it.
And I don't think it's going to change away from that very much.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can see from the fact that that G2 won MSI and made it to the finals of Worlds. Like, they're doing a lot right. Quickly, I'm going to keep it on topic to the thing that I planned beforehand.
Gotcha.
TSM was 2-0.
Yeah.
They got a 4-game win streak. So,
Hell yeah.
full circle. In week 1, they were doing a lot of setup and never any follow through. They would move all their people. They'd give up the waves, right? They'd do the roam, and then it'd be like, yeah, this might not work.
This doesn't look perfect.
Yeah, this doesn't look quite right. And then they go back, and it's like, what the heck? You just gave up 500 gold for nothing. Like, what are you doing? This week, I felt they did a lot more setup and go. So you saw that with Broken Blade's turret dives in the top lane. You saw that with Dardoch's set engages and the Aurelia flanks in the Dignitas game. Wait, Dignitas game? I think so, yeah. That they were able to win. I don't know. They looked a lot better. And I'd said last week, and this was meant in like the best way possible, that I really hope Bjergsen's poor play is because he's sick and it's not an excuse.
I agree.
And it actually looks like his poor play was because he was sick, because he played like...
I mean, he just played Ornn.
He played the Cinder game too, man. It's a good Cinder game.
Yes.
Yeah. And he was at 0011. What more do you want an Ornn to do? But yeah, Broken Blade played well as well. Like, the team was the team was solid. We'll see. Like, we did all this talk up of C9.
Yeah.
Right? About how they're just like this great execution team. And C9 is the best early game team we have, based on what they've done. And TSM has actually been really good in the early game. Dardoch's paths have been completely on point. I think they have, I checked, but across LEC and LCS, TSM has the fewest deaths at 15, while still having a plus 1,000 gold average. So I really want to see that interact. Anyway, I think it's good for the league when TSM wins usually because they have so many fans. So what do you think, TSM?
I mean, so I will say, I do want to hit C9 like just really quickly. Like that play I mentioned about Niski. The reason why I like it and why I'm like really hyped about C9 is the play was kind of started by Niski. Through communication, Vulcan got a hook. Through smart gameplay, Sven was able to realize I can push this, reset, and go top. And then Blabber makes a clutch play at Herald. So it was like I saw, 4 out of 5 members correctly make a play together. I'm pretty excited about TSM, but I'm kind of curbing my enthusiasm a bit, because when I see them finally take these engages, make these fights, I see like Dardoch doing it. Like the dive top, Dardoch started it. I saw like Broken Blade make a couple plays by himself, but again, I don't know their communication structure. But I'm worried that C9's kind of structure was I see like 5 people all working together to make something work. And in TSM, it's looking more like I got Dardoch as my go button. Like, what happens when the other people get scared or pull him back, or he has a bad game and he's criticized? Like, they all need to be like the way Dardoch has been playing. Because I think the way he's been playing from week 1, 2, and 3 is like kind of slight evolution. Is I think the reason why they're doing well. I don't really think it's anything else right now. So that's kind of my worry with TSM. Is I think it really needs to be all of them playing more similar to that style, where they know which fights to take and they can actually pull them off.
Yeah.
And right now, I'm really scared. It's just Dardoch being like, dude, we're such losers. We're just letting them win the game. Like, let's just go. I'm going in. And that's like his thought process. He's just so frustrated with the situation. He's just going. Yeah. I hope that's not the case. But that's what it's feeling like.
All right. I mean, I think everyone's going to make C9 the favorite in the C9 TSM game. But I'm hoping for a good one.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for a good one. I think that's enough for NA. Just really quickly, like, I'm putting the Dignitas hype train in the station. It is no longer chewing along with their 3 consecutive losses. It was to FlyQuest, TSM, and C9. So they've played other teams that have been doing decent, but they're more looking middle of the pack than they are top team for sure right now.
I mean, we'll say one C9, one is big draft problem, but I will say their structure of the team, they do have some like strong components, but I said it at the beginning of the split, like I think their floor is really high, but their ceiling doesn't look crazy. So them having a really strong start, like I definitely saw that. But I don't think they should be slumping yet. I think this is kind of just product of the last couple of weeks, and I think they'll still do well. But I think, maybe getting into weeks 6, 7, like towards the last 3 weeks, bottom half of the split, we'll start seeing like more obvious problems.
Yeah. I want to talk about the G2 Fnatic game and Fnatic a little bit. just so people aren't surprised. Like a lot of times analysts end up watching games on VOD because our weekend is really busy and all the games happen at the same time. So you haven't seen all of the Fnatic Origin game.
Yep.
So I'll just kind of give my thoughts on it. I can tell you about it as well. So I can spoil everything.
Tell me.
It was a really interesting game because, as we mentioned before, G2 plays around so much more pressure than setup. And one thing that I think is kind of defining them a little bit this year is actually their willingness to deprioritize objectives. So when's the last time you saw a 6-0 team that's only taken 3 Barons? Right? Like Baron is usually you win the game, you take Baron, you win. G2's only taken 3 Barons, right?
I mean, yeah, G2 is very opportunistic.
C9's taken 7 as an example. They're also like very quick.
Well, I'd say like C9 still, yes, plagued is way too strong of a word.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, you get Baron, you win the game.
Yeah.
Right? I think G2 is still on this other level where it's like, you die, I win the game. So a lot of the times I notice they won't have to take Baron to win games. Yeah. And I've also seen them, I don't know, I wish I had the stat or something, but I feel like they're one of the highest like Baron conversion
to
teams.
Like wins. Like once they have it, it's even faster.
Like too many times I'm like, all right, there's tier 2s up and they got Baron. I guess the shorthand version is usually when you get first Baron, you take all tier 2s and then second Baron, you break the base. That's mostly how NA plays. So I'll see first Baron go down and I'll see tier 2s up, tier 1s up, and G2 wins the game within Baron buff timer. And I'm like, wow. Yeah. That's pretty, that's like rushing the game, man. Yeah.
You did, if people missed it, you did do a turret dive ranking at the start of Countdown today. So a bunch of NA dives were thrown up. They were all getting low. There was actually some whoopsie dives in the G2 Fnatic game. But that does speak a little bit to the mentality of these teams. Like they're going to go for dive, and if it goes wrong, it's like, well, we're going to fix it next time. But like they're willing to do it wrong. Like Hillsong totally misplayed a dive down bottom lane, messed up a 4v1 dive on Braum, then they tried to dive top lane. Bwipo dodges the first Aatrox Q. Aatrox doesn't take turret aggro. They're unable to do a 2v1 dive there, and that like traded. So the game in that sense was fast pace, and you're always going to have a certain level of error. The thing that I wanted to talk about on the podcast, because it's easier to visualize, is like Fnatic got the first 3 Drakes of this game, but G2 actually won the game by giving Fnatic the 3rd Drake. So
in return for...
Because in return, they got Rift Herald, which broke mid turret, and as Fnatic rotated mid to catch Rift, they got bot turret. So they accelerated their gold by 1.5K. So when they eventually fought at Drake 4, they had item power spikes for Ryze and Senna, and they won the fight.
Have you checked, like, those two, the turret, or I guess Palladians were probably down by then?
Palladians was down.
Were down?
Yeah. Wave pressure, 2 turrets, 4 Mountain Drake. It was only about 1 or 1,500 gold. It's like one of those plays where when you're watching...
Oh, sorry. I meant, like, was that the break point for them to complete their items?
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Because I say, that seems more like they didn't have the confidence to win these fights.
They didn't have the confidence to win the fight.
And then once they had their items, they're like...
I think that's a large part of it. But another is like, I see so many teams that they see the other team as 2 Drakes and they have a gold and they say, well, let's just fight with the 3rd one. Like we have to. But G2 is like, nah, we have enough confidence. We'll just fight with the 4th one.
Yeah.
Like they're willing to take the risk that could lose them the game if they think it'll give them a higher chance to win the game eventually.
Yeah.
Which is what they did there by taking Rift 2, getting turrets, and then winning the next fight. Yeah. It was cool.
Well, it's weird because the kind of concept you're thinking of, I think is a kind of pro player problem where they have this like, a lot of them are they play based on emotions and feeling, and like they use that to rationalize analysis. And it doesn't happen like in correct like dot forming bubbles.
Sure.
I don't know how to
I mean, but a lot of times the emotion is what you are going to be acting off in game anyway.
Well, I mean, it's more something like, okay, so you just explained, G2 hit this power spike after they got these 2 items, so they said, okay, we'll go fight at 4th Drake, right?
Yeah.
And we can give up 3rd.
Yeah.
Them finding an item spike and then playing on it is a unique thing amongst pro teams.
True.
It sounds pretty crazy because, when you're playing the game, you're like, oh, I just finished iEdge, I feel strong. But for a team's mentality to swap from passive to aggressive is really crazy.
Well,
it's hard.
Yeah. Also, I think another thing that's really hard is one individual having a power spike and knowing if it's the right time to reset. Because so many times people are like, I need 300 gold. And like everyone else is recalled. And they're like,
G2's good on resets.
Let me run to Blue and Gromp and Raptors. And then, I just got to go catch this mid wave. And it's like, well, you just delayed your whole team by a minute. It wasn't worth it.
I actually had a really funny conversation with Mark today about this.
Okay.
So one thing that I don't praise G2 openly about it, but I guess this is my first time.
Okay.
One thing that G2 does really good that I try to bring to my teams, because it was a very, I thought, simple concept. When they were ahead, they'd be ahead 5K, something like that. A lot of the times they would not reset, and they would hold control of an area and pressure it for an extended amount of time. And usually what happened is the other team would slip up, or the other team would just feel choked and just do nothing. So it was like they do nothing or they make a mistake. That's usually what the enemy team would do during this time. And yeah, G2 has this 5K gold lead, so they're sitting on 5K gold. Why the hell aren't you guys resetting?
Yeah.
Usually they're like a whole item up on someone at that point. So who are you getting stronger than? You're already stronger than them.
Right.
And this concept, I could never convince a player, because if a player is sitting there
with 3K gold,
3K gold, they're like, I'm going home and I'm going to go buy something. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, can we try this a bit? Can we see if we can get comfortable in our own skin? You guys have a 5K lead. Why do you need more? I know in this example, 3 out of the 5K is in your bank.
Yeah.
But kind of it's more of the idea of you have an item advantage. You hit your 2 item spike and they have 1. You don't need to buy anything else right now. You should just hold in pressure. If you lose a fight, you broke your hands or something because you're already up an item. And I think that's a big part of G2's speed is their lack of resets. And I think in NA, it's super, right? One play, Dragon, reset. Bot turret, reset. It's always, you never have more than 1K gold, maybe a little bit over.
Yeah.
And I see G2 chilling on 3K. And I was like,
G2 plays, if NA plays around setup and LCK plays around Drakes, G2 plays around pressure.
Yeah.
Pressure and tempo. That is the only thing that matters to them.
Yeah.
Every decision is governed by that. So it's when you run that system for 2 years or year and a half and you have better individual players than everyone else, it's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, it's free flowing, and it does require a lot of your players individually, right? Yeah. The setup is if the other team doesn't know what to do, they don't know enough than you can kind of just brute force. I have 5 people here I can set up.
Yeah.
With this G2 way, it's really you're skill checked every time you fight someone.
Yeah. My moving on to some more LEC teams, my kind of read of Fnatic right now is they have really great individual players. Do you know Bwipo has 6 solo kills in 6 games? Yeah. I mean, even the one dive that you saw top, he has the Rengar game where he was just getting solo kills. He solo kills people on Urgot. He's just been actually outplaying people. But this is a team where I feel they've had a few games where the opponent starts Baron and then Fnatic just wins a team fight. They've been clutch because their players are so good, but I still think that this team has a lot to work on. Oh, also, G2 killed Reckless 5 times. They did that on purpose.
Oh,
right? Yeah. He had died once. He had a 60 KDA. He was basically doing the Sven thing, and they killed him 5 times. They were just focusing.
They could have done 6. Come on.
I mean, they would have had to wait 20 seconds for him to respawn.
Would that be?
That feels like a G2 thing.
Yeah, that does
to
feel
be honest.
Like a normal
but
thing.
I mean, they were sitting on 1 Drake from Seoul, so maybe they didn't want to quite wait that long. Still G2. In terms of setup, I feel Origin is the closest to a setup team in EU. They do grind out a lot of those things, and full circle in terms of mid priority. I don't think you watched this game, but I want to describe it to you. Mad Lions versus Rogue.
Wait, actually, I think I did watch this.
Really? It was a big comeback. It was a Soraka game.
I think so.
Yeah. So Rogue had Lissandra mid with Draven Nautilus bot lane, right? So you're thinking big mid-game power spike, set Jarvan in top jungle. 17 minutes in, still early game. I'm trying to paint a picture here.
Yeah.
17 minutes in, they have a 2 Drake lead and a 4K gold lead. 4K at 17 minutes is massive.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But they try a mid lane engage, they burn Jarvan ult, and it doesn't work. And then they do this little mid lane dance thing, and they give mid priority to Mad Lions, and Mad Lions takes the Drake. And I'm like, oh, that's bad. I think the only way they win this is Seoul because the other team has Soraka Kaisa. right? Like if they scale, it's over. And eventually, so that was like at 17 minutes. Then they secure the next Drake to get to 3, but then a 24-minute fight against a Soraka. So this is why Soraka is ridiculous, and I think more NA teams should play her. So the Soraka's level 13, has Athene's, Redemption, and a Mikhail's. So the amount of like increased healing and shielding power is at its maximum. Guess how much total healing one Soraka ult did to the team? All the little green numbers came up on the screen so I could count it.
3.5k?
Oh, wow. That was 2,500.
Oh, okay.
3.5k?
I mean, it goes up as you're lower.
It's absurd. Yeah. So 704 heal on the tank support, and then like everyone else was 400 or 600 healing.
I was guessing like closer to 600 each heal.
Yeah, it was just absurdity. Rip Rogue, they got Soraka twice. Like they were actually winning in both games, and then they just got Soraka'd. But I actually think what lost them that game was the fact that they didn't realize their only win condition was Soul, and they couldn't allow Kai'Sa Soraka to get there. So even when they had like the 4K lead and no Jarvanel, it's like, no, you have to go. Like you just have to brute force with Draven Nautilus and get this Drake.
I can't remember.
The way I felt.
Did they see what the Soul was going to be? Because that's one thing that, I mean,
it was third Drake, so they knew the map had already transformed.
Oh yeah, I mean, but like when you start into the game, if you,
I'll look it up maybe.
Yeah, if you find out like you're gonna get Mountain Soul or something, it's like, what's our win condition now, guys? Like we need a snowball. But like if you can get like Ocean or maybe like Infernal's pretty good. I don't know. I kind of been digging Cloud recently.
Depends on the comp.
Yeah, it depends on what ults you got, but I think that's another one where teams haven't learned how to like completely abuse it.
Mm-hmm.
I remember like one ult abuse that people learned like really slowly. It was a random throwback to Urgot Aatrox meta when Aatrox could revive. You know who had a shorter ultimate?
Urgot.
So the only way you play that matchup, because it's a 50-50 matchup. But
Ocean Soul.
It was Ocean Soul. Okay, so they did.
Yeah.
But Urgot had to all in every time his ult was up. So he had like a 10-second window to actually kill the Aatrox. If he didn't, Aatrox would eventually poke him out. So that was like a weird situation where like it took a really long time for top laners to learn like this is actually how you play the matchup, is you have to go super aggro. And I think that like ult trading, I think people are going to learn that with Cloud Drake soon, where they're like, all right, I'm going to throw like 2 ults. So if you engage on me, you're going to probably take a bad fight. But I'm going to throw 2 ults now, get a chunk, and then I'm going to wait 15, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and get my ult back. So I think no one's doing that yet, but I think that's going to be a lot more norm. It's like you'll just see a Gragas like ult for poke. Yeah. And then it's like, well, we're fast, so you can't catch us.
It'll
and then
be up in 40 seconds.
My ult's going to come up really soon. So you got like 1.5 waves to catch me, or I'm going to have ult up and you're all half HP. Yeah.
I like stacking Drakes more. Like the situation where the other team gets 2 and then you get 4 of the same. That's when they become absurdly powerful. Of like any type, like the Armored MR, like Infernal's real again. Yeah. Like all these things are cool. I think we've pretty much hit everything.
Hell yeah.
Do you have any final thoughts? We talked about a lot of stuff. We defended the NARAM. Yeah.
Well, only for the losing team.
Yeah. Okay.
The winning team
still needs
if they're ARAMing, that winning team needs to be criticized for their lack of macro.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
I'll say most of the time.
If they have Cho'Gath, then sure, group 5. But if they're got a Fiora, probably shouldn't be grouped. Doesn't happen often with Fiora, to be completely honest. Yeah. We talked about C9 a little bit. Did some new stuff. Yeah. Did handshaking. I really liked the conversation about Macro League of Legends.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. For those of you listening, thank you once again for watching. JLXP is available on YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts. It's on like Stitcher and a few other things too. Let me know if there's like a podcast platform that you use that it's not on, and we can try and get it up there. This was the 10th episode that we've done in just under 3 weeks. Into the double digits. Nice. We'll probably be doing 1 or 2 podcasts next week as well, but hope you enjoyed this one, and we'll see you next time.